Our coverage tonight begins in West Africa, where President Bola Tinubu has directed the Nigerian Armed Forces to intensify its campaign against terrorists and kidnappers who are putting the nation on edge. He also warned against practices that undermine national interest, assuring servicemen and women of his administration's commitment to their well-being. His comments followed heightened cases of terrorist attacks and kidnapping for ransom in various parts of the country, especially the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, which has been a hotbed of kidnapping lately. Tinubu emphasized that the relative peace the military has secured across the major flashpoints is worth celebrating, urging them to remember that the war is not yet over until every parcel of land held by the enemy is flying the flag of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Well, we will come back to security matters much later in the course of our bulletin, but then to this sad story where we understand that the CEO of Access Holdings, Herbert Wigwe, has died. Herbert Wigwe met his untimely death when the chopper he was traveling in crashed, killing everyone on board. Unconfirmed reports say he was in the company of his wife and son. Sources said the chopper was headed to Las Vegas when it crashed near a border city between Nevada and California on Friday night. The U.S. government has confirmed the incident, stating that no one survived. Let's now tell you what we know about the man, Herbert Wigwe. He started his professional career with Coopers and Lybrand Associates, an international firm of chartered accountants, spent over 10 years at Guarantee Trust Bank PLC, where he managed several portfolios, including financial institutions, large corporates, and multinationals. Left Guarantee Trust Bank as an executive director to co-lead the transformation of Access Bank PLC in March 2002 as deputy managing director. Appointed Group Managing Director and CEO effective from January 1, 2014, and served in that capacity till May 2022. Appointed a non-executive director of the bank effective May 2022. Is an alumnus of the Harvard Business School Executive Management Program. He holds a master's degree in banking and international finance from the University College of North Wales, a master's degree holder in financial economics from the University of London. He also holds BSc degree in accounting from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICANN, and the chairman of the Access Bank UK Limited and a non-executive director of Nigerian Mortgage Refinance Company PLC. May the soul of the dearly departed rest in eternal rest. Now, Nigeria's Minister of Transportation has tasked senior officials in the transportation sector to ensure that they meet up with key expectations as required from government. This was as the Minister of Transportation signed a performance bond with senior government officials in the transportation sector. During a two-day ministerial retreat, they deliberated on strategies aimed at meeting key deliverables required via a performance bond earlier signed by the minister with President Bola Tinubu. Our correspondent, Edong Joseph, reports.
A two-day ministerial retreat by the Minister of Transportation with senior officials from the Transportation Ministry and its agencies. The performance bond, which is an annual appraisal system introduced by President Bola Tinubu, covers a period from 2023 to 2027 and requires extensive commitment towards the development of the transportation sector.
So the bond have to go through the ladder. We have just finished the retreat with the directors and we'll go back to the ministry. They will go with the cascading up to unit, up to the lowest level in the ministry, so that to ensure we uphold the bond we have signed with Mr. President.
The minister reiterated his commitment to deliver on the ministerial mandate as captured in the bond signed with the president and urged other officials to do the same. Also, The managing director of Nigeria's Railway Corporation pledged to improve train services to citizens.
You have to be accountable for your actions and inactions. Leadership start from the top to bottom. Yesterday, Hakim Baba Ahmed was here. I'm sure most of you were there. In his contribution, he makes a lot of recommendations that it's not just about the ministry and the permanent secretary, it's about everybody in the ministry. We have to work as a family to ensure that it is a team, because it's just like a roof. One person cannot put on the roof. So all of us will be there to ensure that we have achieved the deliverables of Mr. President.
What we do is to continue to ensure that what we are providing now, we provide it better and increase the number of trains we are going to run, and also extend it to where we stopped before. We are hoping within this quarter, Lagos to Kano narrow gauge will commence operation mostly on freight, and ultimately Port Harcourt to Aba will also commence.
The signed bond aims at ensuring effective performance in the transportation sector. Nigerians will be hoping that this will translate into effective and efficient service delivery to citizens in the transportation sector. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
We now tell you that the anti-graft agency has declared Margaret Emefiele, wife of a former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, and 3 others wanted for money laundering. Emefiele, Eric Odo, Anita Omoile, and her husband, Jonathan Omoile, were declared wanted on Friday night for allegedly conspiring with the former CBN governor to convert huge sums of money belonging to the federal government of Nigeria, and committed felony 2, obtaining money by false pretense, and stealing, contrary to and punishable under sections 411, 287, and 314 of the Criminal Law of Lagos State. The details of their alleged money laundering offenses were revealed by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Many thanks for staying with us. We're now back to security matters, even as we tell you that the General Officer commanding 3 Armored Division of the Nigerian Army and Commander Operation Safe Haven, Major General Abdulsalam Abubakar, has reassured renewed vigor of the military in combating security challenges in Plateau State. Major General Abdulsalam Abubakar was speaking during the 2023 West African Social Activities of the Nigerian Army at the Rhino Sports Pavilion, Rukuba Barracks. Chizoba Anyome was there for News Central and now completes the story.
That's how the event commenced at the 3 Division Maxwell Kobe Cantonment to welcome the GOC and Commander Operation Safe Haven to the event, which is his first since assuming command at the division. Wasa, as commonly called, is an annual event of the Nigerian military, which dates back to the pre-independence era to honor cultural heritage and create a more cordial relationship among personnel, family and friends for improved productivity.
This is aimed at promoting comradeship, to deepen esprit de corps, strengthen unity amongst personnel, as well as promote civil-military relations and showcase the beautiful cultural heritage of the barracks community.
It wasn't just about the cultural heritage diversity that defines the people. It was also a time for stock-taking through the activities of the previous year and how best to manage security in the new year, which WASA heralds.
Monitor and report any strange occurrences and unusual activities to the appropriate authority and remain poised to be firm, just, and fair as we confront the myriads of security challenges on the plateau for the year 2024.
While commending the GOC for his unwavering effort in enthroning peace in the state, Governor Caleb Mutfwang stated his administration's continuous support to the military for a crime-free state.
The peace and security that is being enjoyed is as a result of the concerted efforts of the military and other security agencies in support of the government of Plateau State in its determination to restore the state to its glory of being the land of beauty and tourism. I want to assure everyone here that as a government, we will continue to support the military and all security agencies in the state in order to sustain the peace we are enjoying today.
Display of cultural dances, wide array of dishes and drinks, tug of war, and performances from children painted a colorful picture of the event. Awards were also presented to personnel for distinguishing themselves in works of excellence. Lighting of the bonfire and the lowering of the Nigerian flag marked the end of the 2023 Wasa in 3 division.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
In Rukuba for News Central, I am Chizoba Anyowe.
Tell you that Nigeria is facing a host of serious problems, including high unemployment rate, terrorism, poverty, an obsolete educational system, and a high illiteracy rate. The cultural imbalance that exists in the country is also a major concern, with deep divisions between different ethnic and religious groups. The rate of unemployment in Nigeria is very high, especially among the youth, and this is leading to frustration and unrest. The poverty rate is also very high, with many people living in extreme poverty. In terms of education, the system is outdated and does not meet the needs of the modern world. Joining me to further discuss this is Okpeoluwa Taiwo, financial analyst and executive director, Africa Bridge Initiative, is right here in our studios, and he'll be talking more on this. Thank you so much for gracing our studios.
Thank you for having me.
So we're looking at the issue of high rates of unemployment, tourism activities that have spiked, poverty index that is so not encouraging, and an archaic educational system. Now, why is it that these issues have become so terrible for the Nigerian government for decades that it has become impossible to find lasting solutions to them?
Nigeria, as the giant of Africa, has been unable to live up to expectation as the economic nerve of the region. Now, what do we have for the 21st century? Talking about the 2024 economic outlook of Nigeria, we are talking about over 220 million Nigerian citizens, and out of these 220 million, we're talking about more than 65 having to be part of the workforce. That is the youth less than 40 years. So that means we have a massive workforce that can take over the nation into the next level. But this must be as a result of the intentionality on the part of the government, because you have to be very accurate in terms of data gathering. You know, in 21st century, you can't do anything without accurate data gathering. Data is very key in Nigeria for 21st century. When we talk about data in the economic space, we talk about having to diversify our economy. Our economy, we've depended too much of the, talking about importation, we have too much of depending on the oil as a revenue. And the world is moving away from the oil as a revenue. So that means that the economy can never be robust. And that is why we're seeing that more than 2 decades now, the government is having so much challenge to curtail the poverty rate and the unemployment rate. But it is actually possible if only the government is ready to change the narratives.
So what are the things that must be done? Because, of course, you said if government is willing to, but then there have been talks about the fact that governments over time or administrations over time do not have the political will to do what is right for the country, to change the narrative and to deal with these endemic issues. There are also issues of sabotage, in-person sabotage of critical sectors of the economy that makes it impossible to have a vibrant educational system, to have a sector that provides jobs for people to deal with those problems that actually pulls down the value of our country. So how do we begin to channel resources and focus in looking at these issues and tackling them headlong?
Nigeria as a country has so much capacity to be the best in Africa, to be one of the biggest black nations in the world. Talking about economic sabotage is not new to Nigeria, and it's not peculiar to Nigeria. We must understand that economic sabotage are everywhere in the world. But what do we have in Nigeria, and what do we need to look on for having sustainability in our economic space? Three things are needed. Don't forget, we're having inflation rate talking about more than 25%. We're having the unemployment rate talking about more than 41%. That is killing. But what do we need to do? Three things are needed. Number one, when we talk about poverty rate in a nation like Nigeria, what does it mean to have poverty? We're talking about having lack of access to quality healthcare services, lacking quality and affordable educational system in the country. These are some challenges that can have a bedrock of robust development in Nigeria. So the government must understand that, number one, we need to diversify the economy beyond the oil revenue, because if we are still looking at the oil revenue for the GDP of Nigeria, the sabotage, the people I call the invisible hands, we continue to run the economy. And that is why it's becoming even a challenge for the CBN to curtail the invisible hand in Nigeria, because their focus is the same focus with the federal government. If Nigerian government can refocus and rechannel their energy beyond the oil revenue, I'm sure they can beat the invisible hand. Because number one, for the healthcare sector, we have NIM for an average Nigerian. So what does it cost for us to have a robust and decentralized, affordable quality healthcare system? Talking about the National Health Security System. With your NIN, go to the nearest local government. You get your health security number. You can access any healthcare facility within the country. With that, what do we have with that? The pressure of an average consumer, the pressure of an average Nigerian will come down, because I know whenever there's a little challenge in my healthcare, in my health as in Nigeria, I can go to the nearest healthcare facility. Another thing we must look at is that our cost of food production must go down, because the consumer price index as of today is going too high, because SME are having challenge in terms of cost of production. The cost of production is too high. So we need to break the cost of production, especially for food production, because they say an hungry man is an angry man. When we can get it right for our cost of production, when we can get it right for the cost of food production, when we can get it right on the cost of transportation, we understand that moving goods and services from the rural area into the city can become very seamless. And with this, the SME can have a robust economy going forward.
One of the challenges that Nigeria has faced in the last few months or over time has been the issue of attracting foreign direct investments into the country or the Nigerian economy. That's been a major problem. And we've seen the Nigerian president, Bola Tinubu, moving around different countries, trying to woo investors to plunge their resources to boost the Nigerian market. Of course, there are so many challenges, but then how do we expedite the process? How do we make the Nigerian business environment attractive for them? How do we make it more secured for them? How do we build the confidence for them to want to invest in the Nigerian economy?
The Nigerian economy, talking about the foreign direct investment, is very important. But even though it's very important, we must understand that two variables are very key in this particular analysis. Number one, the president going out of the country to bring in foreign investors is very critical. But the local investors, talking about the local SMEs, are suffering. And we are out there trying to market the economy to the investors. If, as an investor, I'm coming from China, and I've seen that some of my counterparts who are within the country, in the last 10 years, their input into the economy is not sustainable, it's not profitable. Do you think I would like to come to such a country? So the president of Nigeria must understand that going beyond marketing the country to the foreign investors, you must also have a way of giving what we call tax rebates. For instance, we have what we call the Lekki Free Trade Zone in Lagos. Do we have same in other part of the country? The answer is no. So we need to have a robust tax system for the SME, because for an average SME, the first problem of an average SME in Nigeria is double taxation. Double taxation is killing the SME. Double taxation is killing the MSME. Okay. So we must learn to break and have a single direct taxation that will make it very seamless and make it profitable for the local investors to thrive. When the local investors are happy, it will be easy to market the country to foreign investors.
Okwelu Ataiwo, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. We appreciate that.
Thank you for having me today.
We now tell you that Nigeria's commission saddled with developing the nation's Niger Delta region says that it has commenced a new initiative known as the Project Hope, expected to empower youths in the region, making them globally competitive in the tech and IT sector in a bid to reduce unemployment rate in the region. This is during a board and management retreat holding in Ikotapene, Akwa Ibom State, with the theme Renewed Hope, a new era for vitality, peace and development. The retreat also aims at developing a blueprint to achieve key deliverables mandated by President Bola Tinubu's Renewed Hope agenda. Amadine Uyi tells us more.
The Renewed Hope retreat for members of the board, management, and senior officials of the Niger Delta Development Commission. In attendance were past board members, past chairpersons of the commission, the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, lawmakers from Nigeria's Senate and House of Representatives, development partners, and experts.
The objective of this retreat, which you will agree is very timely, is to further align the board and management of the Commission with Mr. President's Renewed Hope agenda. The objective is replicated in the theme of the retreat, Renewed Hope, an era of vitality, peace, and sustainable development.
For all of us here present, it is a veritable opportunity to examine some of the factors that have militated against the collective and efficient operations of the Commission in the last few years.
While the Commission highlighted several successes achieved since its establishment via an Act of Parliament, several key partners, however, say much can still be achieved through planning and a new way of doing things.
In the past 24 years, NDDC have completed about 7,483 projects. Out of these completed projects, 3,357 are roads and bridges, while 611 are renewable energy projects. 3,427 projects are still ongoing.
If we continue the way we are, business as usual, without proper planning, without consideration of the future, there is bound to be what? Collapse.
At the end of this retreat, we should become aware that the main parameter for assessment as board members and management staff will largely be dependent on the way we discharge our fiduciary duties and the legacies we leave behind in terms of developing and improving of the region.
The NDDC announced one of its key programs, which it called the Project Hope, targeted at youths from the sub-region and aimed at making them globally competitive in the tech and IT sectors. The Minister of the Niger Delta Development also called on the management and board to ensure that a new era of transparency and accountability aimed at meeting key deliverables set by President Bola Tinubu is achieved.
The Project Hope means holistic opportunity for programs and engagement. Now, trying to bring all programs and engagement under one platform. We are looking at ways of engaging our youths. So first thing first, Project Hope is registering youths in the Niger Delta online for us to have a database of the youths in the Niger Delta. Because without data, you cannot plan.
I urge the new board and the management of NDDC to cautiously strive to enthrone a regime of strengthened institutions through a transparent and realistic adherence to external financial regulations, public
Procurement Act, public service rules, and compliance.
The NDDC was also tasked to embark on internal reforms, develop new approaches to contract awards, and ensure that reports of abandoned projects facilitated by the non-payment of contractors becomes a thing of the past. In Akwa Ibom State for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
To health matters now, nurses in Nigeria are expressing frustration after the Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria announced revised guidelines for verifying certificates for foreign nursing boards. The new rule mandates a 2-year post-qualification experience, an increased non-refundable fee, and active license with at least 6 months remaining, and the verification process stretching for a minimum of 6 months. This sparked outrage among nurses who see it as an attempt to hinder their career opportunities. While the council justifies the changes as ensuring quality and safeguarding public health, nurses on social media argue the experience requirements unfairly restricts their opportunities for international careers. The hashtag NMCN hashtag Say No to NMCN verification rule is said to be trending on X, with many calling the policy discriminatory and a violation of their right to seek greener pastures abroad. To discuss this, we are joined by Fawole Israel, a nurse researcher. Thank you so much for joining us on the news.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good evening.
So can you give us an update on how the social media campaign is ongoing, and beyond social media, what other efforts are being deployed to get the attention of the council to look at this particular issue?
Oh, okay, thank you so much. So just like you've seen on social media that nurses, this is going to be one of the first time in history where nurses will unite, across Nigeria to say no to a policy that is perceived as anti-people and anti-professional progress policy. Of course, the campaign is going all over social media to say blatant no to the said policy. And of course, nurses across the country, across the federation, in each state, are currently mobilizing and consulting with relevant stakeholders to occupy the streets, registering the serious displeasure of nurses and nursing students, nursing professionals in the country on the said very bad policy. Court also legal steps have been taken to engage courts. To approach, we are approaching court to also secure necessary legal injunctions to stop the implementation of the policy, so as to avoid any form of total clampdown of nurses or withdrawal of services of nurses, across the hospitals in Nigeria, starting from this week. Thank you so much.
So do you think that the new revised verification rules are maliciously directed towards hindering nurses from pursuing their career opportunities abroad?
Of course it is. So let me put a point of a scenario for you. Nursing profession, as it seems, have about 301 career prospects globally. In Nigeria, we have only explored about 14, career opportunities. For somebody like me who wants to practice as a nurse informatist and health informatist, and that's finding a nexus between technology and healthcare, Nigeria does not have that facility. And imagine bringing such policy that denies me, of obtaining opportunities outside the country to actually build my career. And of course, when I learn these skills and I'm bringing it back to the country, to be a value added, to the to the professional practice in Nigeria. And of course, many of these opportunities outside the country also have their age barriers, age limitation, all of those things to explore. So adding almost 4 years to getting verified, when other countries in the world, in Canada, in the US, in in the UK, in Australia, in New Zealand, it takes less than 2 hours to get verified as a nurse. And in Nigeria, they are saying, post 2 years post graduation. Remember that after graduation, all nurses are compelled to do 1 year internship. Yeah. After 1 year internship, 1 year NYSC. So we are now saying 2 years added to that. That is 4 good years. And after that, you now still have to stay 6 months. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So for somebody who graduated at age 25, for example, thank God how there has been serious strikes on Nigerian campuses, and which has added to the number of years that nurses are supposed to even graduate from the university. And, opportunities out there are giving 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, and they are pegged at 30. So such policy would deny, opportunities for somebody like me and other people who would want to, get out there to seek career progression, skills, career advancement skills. So it is a no from us as nurses, and we are not going to accept it from the Nursing Regulator Council of Nigeria. So it is a very bad, it is malicious, it is sad, and we are saying vehemently no to it. We won't take it, we won't accept it, and that is how it would be.
Okay, Fawali Israel, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much.
And I'll tell you that a student was killed during protests over the postponement of presidential elections in St. Louis in northern Senegal. Head of the Geography Club at Gaston Berger University disclosed this to journalists. According to him, the students died from injuries suffered in the protests. A hospital employee also confirmed the incident. The student's death marks the first since demonstrations broke out over the past week. In East Africa, international aid agencies have called on donors and governments to scale up urgent humanitarian support to avert the growing hunger crisis in Ethiopia due to an El Nino-induced drought. Oxfam and Concern Worldwide issued separate statements late on Thursday calling for urgent humanitarian support to drought-affected people in northern Ethiopia. The call followed a recent assessment by the Ethiopian government and its humanitarian partners, which predicted the number of food-insecure people in Ethiopia, which could reach 10.8 million in the coming months this year. The worst drought-affected areas in northern Ethiopia are in parts of Amara, Tigray, and Afar, where communities have yet to recover from the conflict between 2020 and 2022. Before we bring you world wrap stories, let's quickly tell you that in Gabon, we understand that the former president Ali Bongo Dimba's wife, Sylvia, is suffering degrading treatment in custody, while his son, Nuruddin, is being tortured. This was disclosed by a family lawyer, Francois Zemere. Sylvia, who holds French citizenship, has been charged with money laundering and was initially held under house arrest before being jailed in mid-October. Nuruddin is also in jail, charged with corruption and embezzling public funds. Both were detained for weeks under political decisions and have not been able to meet their lawyer, who has traveled twice to Gabon and was prevented from visiting them. And away from the African continent, we tell you that despite PTI-backed candidates leading in Pakistan's elections race, the party's supporters staged a protest outside the Election Commission in Karachi, lamenting state interference in the polling process. The South Asian country faces days of political horse trading after a strong performance by the independent candidates loyal to jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan wrecked the chances of the army-backed Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz from winning a ruling majority. In the meantime, Pakistan's army chief told feuding politicians on Saturday to show maturity and unity after an election failed to produce a clear winner, leaving the military's favored party having to cobble together a coalition in order to rule.
करते रहेंगे जब तक स्टे ऑर्डर नहीं दिया जाता कि फॉर्म 47 हम लोग फॉर्म 45 की बेस पर हम लड़ेंगे और हम नहीं उनको हल्फ लेने देंगे जिन्हें सो कॉल्ड हम मुंतखब किया गया जो कि सिलेक्टेड लोग हैं इलेक्टेड लोग नहीं हैं।
जबकि फॉर्म 45 पे जितने भी हमारे उम्मीदवार हैं उसमें हम बहुत बड़ी बड़ी लीड में पाकिस्तान तहरीक इंसाफ जीत चुकी है और उन्होंने उनको वो चेंज कर और किस तरह गुंडे अंदाज में इन्होंने नतीजे तब्दील करने की कोशिश की।
Elsewhere, Hungarian President Katalin Novak has announced her resignation on Saturday following outrage sparked in the Central European country by a decision to pardon a man implicated in child sexual abuse case. 46-year-old Novak, a former minister for family policy, became the first woman to hold the essentially ceremonial role of presidency in March 2022. The controversy was sparked by the pardon given last April amid a visit by Pope Francis to Budapest to a former deputy director of a children's home who helped to cover up his boss's sexually abusing kids and adolescents there. Minutes after her announcement, another ally of Orban, Judith Varga, also announced her withdrawal from public life for having given approval for the pardon as Justice Minister.
Tavaly áprilisban abban a hiszemben döntöttem a kegyelem mellett, hogy az elítélt nem élt vissza a rábízott gyermekek kiszolgáltatottságával. Hibáztam. Mert a kegyelmi döntés és az indokolás hiánya alkalmas volt arra, hogy a pedofíliára vonatkozó zéró tolerancia kapcsán kételyeket ébresszen. Márpedig itt nincs, és nem is lehet kételj. Magyar emberként azt várnám a köztársasági elnöktől, hogy ne hibázzon. Ha mégis...
Next is business news with Perpetua Fasomi Peter.
In business, global ratings agency Moody's has pushed Niger's sovereign rating deeper into junk territory on the accumulation of unpaid debts. Moody's downgraded the long-term foreign and local currency ratings of the government of Niger to CAA3 from CAA2. Data from the West African Regional Debt Management Agency showed in November that Niger missed payments on interest and capital totaling 187.136 billion CFA francs. Moody's said that the continued accumulation of debt service payment arrears stemming from sanctions imposed by regional bodies after the military took over the West African nation could result in more significant losses for private sector creditors than previously anticipated. Nigeria is proposing for gas producers to sell gas to local power plants in Naira to solve problems of dollar shortages after a second currency devaluation in less than a year is expected to balloon costs and make it hard for firms to pay. Nigeria has 24 gas power plants with a combined output capacity of 11,434 megawatts, but it only delivers around a third of its capacity to the grid due to issues with gas supply. Power Minister Adebayo Adelabu made a proposition in a post on X. Adelabu added that he plans to create legislative measures that will mandate Naira payments for domestic gas supply. Natural gas is sold in dollars to power plants because investments tied to building gas plants and pipelines are priced and paid for in dollars. Still in West Africa, the management of the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, has urged the Ghanaian public to disregard a false publication that GRA auctioned off cocoa board's chemicals and fertilizers. The article alleged that Ghana Cocoa Board, or Cocoa Board, was unable to pay import duties on some agrochemicals, fertilizers, and implements to be used in the enhancement of cocoa farming, and this led the GRA to auction these items, resulting in dire implications to the cocoa season. The GRA management said the article was disingenuous and misleading and sought to draw conclusions not founded on facts. It added that Cocoa Board imported chemicals and fertilizers that overstayed in warehouses and attracted sanctions on them for not being cleared. As the price of aviation fuel increased to above 1,300 naira, airline companies in Nigeria made suggestions that they could have to evaluate their pricing upward. This was made known in a statement on Friday by the spokesman of local airlines.
And that's all at this hour, but before we go, let's take another look at some of our major stories. President Tinubu has demanded stronger military response to security threats. A student has been confirmed as first death in protests over postponed elections in Senegal. And we told you that lawyer to Omar Bongo says the ousted Gabon president's family have been subjected to abuse in aftermath of his overthrow. You can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on your screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV, and you can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Likon Onobanjo.